See if we can get round 2 here. I had to tag off for a second. Make sure the stream is up and running. Make sure we're live. Got the good audio. Got the good hair. Good hair. We are. All right, let's mute that down. Let's get back to it. So, we're just going to leave the station. I just had to take a momentary break, but we're back, so it's fine. We've got Bren and Eddie. I'm going to edit this together in feedback loop, so the viewer later won't know the difference. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We'll get this back underway. All right, now we've got Bren, and Bren is working on her affinity map. And she's decided to make it in Miro, and the only thing, literally the only thing I don't like about Miro is the fact that like the way that they handle movement is different than how movement is handled in Figma. So if you're used to using Figma, Miro feels like an alien world. In the breakdown of her stickies here, she's got observations that she has from her interview sessions. She has observations from the survey respondents. Oops, need to undo that. Then she also has stakeholder interview notes, and then elements from competitive analysis. Now, the interesting thing here is the competitive analysis, I really do believe, is going to play a huge role for Bren when it comes to avoiding pitfalls as she begins to design the solution for her customer. Like, everything that's in here is going to play a huge role moving forward. It wasn't a huge thing for now, but I do believe that there were a number of themes that she discovered along the way in her interviews that also tied up with things that were popping out of the surveys. And I don't necessarily like using surveys for data points, but I don't mind it if it's something that we confirm through interviews, through other research means, not memes, that's different. So she had sustainability themes, and these sustainability themes were related to, frankly, a lot of waste, food waste, packaging waste. There were things that people, most people that Bren was talking with do not want to harm the world just for the sake of convenience. So there was a big sustainability theme. Variety also played a role in that people wanted to have the ability to see a variety of options, but not get trapped into a specific meal. So like they didn't want to order chicken Vesuvio. They didn't want to order three versions of chicken Vesuvio because frankly, they might change their mind later. They might want chicken, but they want something else. So it was kind of an interesting thing. They didn't fit into this ideal thing where I'm going to be able to mass produce a bunch of chicken Vesuvio and ship it out. By the way, I haven't had chicken Vesuvio in a while, so maybe I'm wanting some chicken Vesuvio. Pricing themes. Pricing was pretty typical. They were not like the great news here is like they weren't saying that like, man, if it's over $5 I don't want it. So this isn't this tells you who your competition is. You're not competing with the dollar menu at McDonald's, which is good because they do see some value in healthy food. And again, I would like to just scroll my fingers up and I can't because of this. Dietary themes, vegan options. They wanted to make sure that like 100% of people who actually use these services are health conscious. 60% of people that were interested in using a service were health conscious. So health and wellness is a big driver here. but shopping behaviors was a huge thing. There was a lot of people. There are a lot of people that just don't want to go to the store. Like after COVID, it's like, you know what? If I can avoid going to a grocery store, I will. I you know I want to not be in that place. So this whole concept of food delivery and how we're delivering food is it's very much of the moment. The trick here is getting the right mix to people, because if you don't go into the store, one common issue with food delivery is that a lot of times when you don't go into the store, you buy less because you're not browsing. So finding a way to solve for that is going to be a huge challenge. So subscriptions, cooking is a constant, but they want to minimize effort. Dinner is much more popular than lunch. I am interested in knowing that if people are working remotely are both equally important, because if I'm not going into an office, is the office dynamic now changed, and now I'm cooking more just around the clock. So I'd be interested in probing that a little more, particularly in the land of post-COVID. Nearly all interested subscribers don't have the time or energy to cook, which is interesting because, some of them are foodies. So it's like they want to cook, but they don't want to expend a lot of energy while doing it, or they don't have a lot of time to do it. So there's some interesting themes there that are popping up. I'm interested to see now what you ended up selecting. So the trigger that's going to drive this whole pattern is COVID. So the idea that the shopping behavior would change, they don't want to go to the store, that's very valid. And as Brent and I talked, this is now a threat to the client. The client has a bunch of grocery stores in the region. Do they need to think about closing some of those? Do they need to repurpose those properties? If fewer people are going to the store, they probably need fewer stores. They might need more delivery. They might need those stores to be more hubs to like ship food out, but they may not necessarily need as many like in-person shopping experiences. Cooking versus pre-made. They want to minimize effort. They want to cook. They also want flexibility and variety. So they are looking for some different ways to pick out their meals, but they also are trying to avoid a hefty price tag. So those are very interesting as far as what your themes are. So they want to be able to cook, but they don't want to expend a lot of energy, but they definitely don't want to go to the store. So you've got a real opportunity to build in some habits. Price is important. Customers are willing to pay for higher quality. So here's an angle on your offerings, like what you are actually offering to them. I wouldn't jump immediately at offering value. These people have said, hey, you're providing something to me, I'm willing to pay for it, provided that it is from a trusted brand, which means that your branding is going to matter. Having a known brand is better than making one up. Like if you are Heb, for instance, you would want to be such and such by Heb, or Heb delivers, or something like that. You wouldn't want to be Abrams. I don't know what Abrams is. Abrams sounds sketchy. It could be Heb, but Heb would be making a mistake if they went into the market with something that didn't attach their name to it, for instance. Sustainability practices, future considerations for packing, ethical sourcing. So the sustainability things are great, but that's later. That's not something that you're gonna necessarily hit your wagon to right now. So your priorities are delivery, more delivery, not less delivery. How do you deliver the entire store rather than just like the deli section? Um, how do you get this set up on a subscription? Um, how do you offer variety and flexibility? Like you've picked up on a lot of things here. I'm interested to see what this generates as far as a persona is concerned, because that's obviously the next step in this process. So good job there. Let's move on over to Eddie. I'm sure Eddie is here somewhere. There he is. Okay, so Eddie is in his design feedback exercise. So if you've gone into the Figma community, this is the designing feedback interface exercise, and I think what Eddie has done here is really interesting. He's clearly tracking down and doing more with prototyping. You can see right away, instead of just like telling you what the transition is going to look like, he has gone through and built out the components necessary to begin that build process. So I like the fact that Eddie is thinking in terms of, hey, and really he's only really got a couple of components here, so I don't want to make it sound like he's done everything. And Eddie, you're going to learn more about variants and stuff in future exercises. So you can carry this further, but I want to like preface that right now. When we look at your prototype, you said, I've read through this a little bit. You said, hey, this interaction states have been prototyped. Just present this frame. I like that you are understanding how to present your work. So when we come over here, this is Eddie's page. This is Jam Juice. We've seen Jam Juice before. So, the click state's down. The hover state goes up. This is very much material design. This is picking up on how material design works. Looks like that one might wiggle just a bit. Like it's like supports just moving over. That's a very minor thing. Okay, so what's interesting here is, oh, weird. Okay. So I wouldn't necessarily have Jam Juice underlined. That's kind of like the logo. It should operate a little differently. I am interested in like free trial. Yeah, I guess that's how it was. So these interactive states are fine. I don't see any. I do think that on like, I can tell that when I click, it's going a little lighter, and that's an interesting decision that you've made, because like down here when I hover, when I click, it goes darker. So is there a reason why it goes in reverse when I'm not, if I'm in the nav and I hover over, it's dark, and then when I click, it goes to light. If I'm down here on your button, when I hover, it's light, and when I click, it goes to dark. Is there a reason why you went with the reverse, or is that just an inconsistency? It's not bad if it's inconsistent. That's just one of the ways that you might go about improving it. As far as like showing feedback, I can tell that you're hovering over these, and that's what we're looking for. Let's take a look at the other, and the one thing I want to emphasize here is to look at this one, you literally have to move the prototype start position over, and that'll relaunch it here. All right, so we're getting into this. So this is the new all, and here you've gone through and you've just said, hey, I'm going to on hover, this will just change color, and that's fine. And that's a little, let's see here. It's a little odd that the button gets the blue outline and then the word kind of fades. think that's an interesting choice, and that's a little busted right there. So serious games, that makes sense. I don't necessarily know if the fade works. I think if anything, what I would do is I would make this, and I'll just focus it because this one's busted. I would make this one blue, like just like these, except it's got the button around it. I think that works. And then this one down here is just a little busted. But the other thing I would look at, Eddie, is I would say, okay, is there any reason why this button is different from this button? They both seem to be secondary, and in the design that was presented, they are different. It's like there's 3 tiers of buttons here. There's this one, and there's this one, which we understand, and then there's this one over here. I would look to normalize between these two so that there's a clear primary and then a clear secondary button style. When I'm looking at styles, I'm always trying to eradicate. Can I get fewer and fewer? How many different styles do I really need? And this is one of those opportunities where I believe that if you were to come through and trim these down to just have one style that rules over them, and it could be, this is really simple. Either this goes lighter, or this goes not lighter, but this goes thinner, or this goes heavier on the font size, and then the actual size of the button. That's really the only tweaks that I think you really have to make, but it's making that decision, which is important. So I would clean this one up. Let's jump over to part 2. Well, actually, I want to check part 1. Is that? Yeah, that's part 1. Okay. I sometimes have to think to myself, okay, did we cover everything? All right, so this is empty state. In empty state, you're given the cohort interface, and this is pretty standard. You're setting up a new dashboard. There's nothing in it. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I need to get started, so I'll click new cohort or something. But the problem here is that anytime you're building a new, and honestly, I changed the names to protect the innocent, but this was the new interface. I mean, this was a new user interface for a tool that I've used before, and it was unfortunate because it was a nice tool, but there was nothing to get you started. So let's see what you did. So you took the content that was here, and okay. So you said, hi, Melissa, you've identified that that's the user. Welcome to the cohort forms page. Build or share a form, whatever you'd like. Build and share your form, whatever you'd like people to sign up. That's interesting. I'm not sure if I understand that line. I think it's just a little mumbled here at the end, but regardless of that, so you can create your first form. So this is build and share your form, whatever you'd like people to sign up. Yeah, I guess that's the content that you were given. Interesting. All right, and then import participants. Import an existing list of users to popular? Should be to populate your cohort. Interesting. Yeah, I gotta go check that. I don't recall that being in there. But the actual setup here is fine. Oh, now I remember. You're supposed to edit those. I remember I left those in there. I was like, why is that so garbled? It's meant that you don't just copy paste it in. So you want to edit these terms. Imagine somebody sends you over an email and there's a typo in it, and you copy paste it in. You're like, oh, there it is, and now the typo has made it in. You've just got to import an existing list of users to populate, not popular, your cohort. Build and share your form, comma, whatever you'd like whatever you like to provide people to sign up. You could rewrite that a little bit, but as far as the design. Let's focus on the design, Chris. I think the design is fine. I think you've got this little illustration. I might center the illustration. Like right now, she feels centered, but the illustration itself feels off. So it's like this needs to be over a bit to like where the center of the illustration is actually, not there. But I mean, I get what you're trying to do, Eddie. And as usual, Eddie's trying to run further with it. I do like the fact that you picked up on the user's name as Melissa. It's very clear what your intended action is. I do wonder about the use of this purple down here versus the blue that's here. You're creating these colors. It seems like that should be the same blue as the others. But I would be interested to know if there was a reason why you went a different direction. So, I would tweak that. I'd tweak the language a bit, and I'd ship it. Let's take a look at part 3. Okay, so Eddie's gone wild here. So Eddie, this, as with all of these, Eddie is working with an existing, so this is Big Box. And Big Box, you've placed an order here. It's like a book and some socks, and you're gonna place an order. If I click place an order, what happens? So, hey, thank you. We've received your order, Eddie. And here's your order number, and we'll follow up. You can review status by visiting my account. Print receipt. Here's the order details. Here's the return policy. Cancel order. It's interesting that that's there, because cancel order was here. I think this is like some language, like if you place this order by mistake, click here to cancel order. I think there's some language there that I don't think that this hanging out. Oh, or it could go down here. Need help. If you have any questions or place this order by mistake, please contact us to please use this link or to contact us, or please chat with us. Is like there's something down here. So there's something with that hanging out there that I have an issue with. This, I got to be honest with you, I would probably stack this. I'd tighten it up. Thank you. We received your order, Eddie. Because the red is acting almost like punctuation, and then I would just I'd move this down. I'd move it probably all down just a bit. So spacing like that. I do think the gray box here is a bit odd. I would just take up the width of the order details and like item, product. The gray box might be just too dark. Maybe that's what I'm reacting to. I know that it's the same as this need help box here, but there's something about the way that it measures in from the side. I'm just not feeling that execution. And what happens if I have a longer? This comes down to like product name. Product name. What if this is longer, right? Like for this usage, it works fine. But what if it was even longer? What we've all had those Amazon orders where it's like the 6-pack of something or another, and like it lists like all the colors for some reason there because it's made overseas or whatever, and like it's going to go down to 2 or 3 lines. What happens then? Is there a reason why this shouldn't just go to the edge? I don't think so. So I would tweak that. I would tweak this. I'm going to undo that so you have an opportunity to kind of figure out what you want to do there. And now I went too far. So let's take a look over here at the canceled ordered flow. So again, I think there's some tweaks here that need to be made, but they're more structural. They're like from a feedback perspective, I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're saying, oh, I placed an order and now I give them a confirmation. That's great. Over here, I say I'm going to cancel the order. So I cancel order. So you're about to cancel this order. You cannot undo this action. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, cancel it. So this is the classic example of putting that extra step in there to make sure that when people are taking a destructive action, you give them you give them one more chance to say no, and you're canceling the order, and you're being very declarative about the language you're using. Yes, cancel it. No, go back. So I think that works. The only thing I might say here from a spacing perspective, and this is where if we get into like how these things are all packaged together, I would like to go a little larger with the box, and I'm going to just kind of group these together. So here's your group, and I'm going to say center and center, just so that it doesn't continue to stretch. But I would just go larger with this. I would go larger with this box, because there really is no, although those buttons are moving around, so that's another constraint issue. But there's no reason to like have it so crammed in on that information that you had. And I'm going to undo that so we can get back to where we were. But you can see how tight that box is now. There, I went back too far again. But you can see how tight that box is. I would just want to utilize the space. So while your thought process is accurate, some of your spacing is off. Okay, and I think that's pretty standard when, for somebody that's new, getting started like you are, you are getting the right ideas though. So I want to emphasize that like ideas are correct, spacing needs tweaked. And as we come down, it's the same thing, like width of the box. Your order has been canceled, cancellation number. Here, this is getting really tight. So I think that this is where I would really encourage you to come through and say, well, give that some air, and that's the other big thing that I'm seeing here is, again, it comes back to spacing. Like consistently, your spacing's just a little off on this one. So I'd like to see you take a, I think all the parts are accurate. All right. So let's start there. There are no missing pieces here. The only thing missing here is the execution of the spacing. I would like to see a not a do-over, because you've got the parts. I would like to see a revision of this piece of the work. And I think part 2 is basically fine. Part 1 is fine too. I mean, if you were going to tweak anything here, I would simply just come through and tweak like the streamlining of the buttons. But I think you get that part. I think let's actually just say, nah, just take that part 3, those last 3 screens, enhance those, so that we have a better sense of what the spacing should really be. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Thanks so much for riding along. Well, frankly, thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Luigi. Thank you, Bren, for submitting work today. If you are out there and you got any value out of this video, please smash that subscribe button. Feel free to like the video as well. And if you're looking for mentorship, that's literally why I'm here. Listen to what my friends from New Pragmatic have to say about working with me through their program. All right, folks, I will see you all in a bit. I'm going to see many of you in just a few minutes, actually. All right, see ya.